A gorilla mother carrying her baby gorilla walked toward the ranger station at the edge of the dense jungle. The sunlight of the afternoon cast a long shadow across the porch as her massive frame filled music, the rustic wooden doorway. She did not roar or show signs of aggression. Instead, she stood with a visible and profound grief. Her amber eyes filled with silent tears that seemed to plead for mercy. In her powerful arms, she cradled a limp and unresponsive baby gorilla with a level of tenderness that was almost human. Zuberi, a dedicated ranger, looked up from his desk and felt his heart stop as he realized the gravity of the situation. The gorilla mother had come to surrender her most precious treasure to music, the only being she believed could fight back against the encroaching stillness of death. If this display of maternal trust touches your heart, please subscribe to join our mission of wildlife conservation. Zuberi stepped outside the doorway slowly, keeping his palms open and his head slightly bowed as a sign of respect and non-aggression. The gorilla mother let out a soft, mournful whimper that vibrated through the humid air of the forest. After a moment of agonizing hesitation, she reached forward and gently handed the baby gorilla over to Zuberi. Music. Inside the station, Zuberi laid the baby gorilla upon a fresh bed of golden straw near the center of the room. The gorilla mother did not follow him inside, but she remained at the entrance, her massive hands gripping the rustic wooden door frames as she watched every single movement with predatory focus. As Zuberi began his examination, the silence in the room became heavy and suffocating. He checked the breathing of the baby gorilla and found it shallow and ragged. Upon closer inspection of the infant neck, he discovered 3 small pinpoint punctures surrounded by a faint bluish bruising. His blood ran cold. These marks indicated the presence of a rare and highly potent neurotoxin produced by a specific jungle parasite. This parasite had recently begun migrating into these higher elevations due to shifting climate patterns. Snorts. Without immediate intervention, the toxin would paralyze the respiratory system of the baby gorilla within a short time. Zuberi reached for his radio and frantically called for the mobile veterinary team. Music. He spoke in urgent tones, describing the desperate state of the baby gorilla. He knew that Cade, a music expert veterinarian stationed nearby, was the only one with a specific anti-venom music required to neutralize this invisible killer. While waiting, Zuberi looked back at the gorilla mother. It is a scientific fact that these primates share roughly 98% of their genetic code with humans. This biological closeness is exactly why their expressions of sorrow and their capacity, for complex trust are so deeply profound. However, as he cleared the fur around the leg of the baby gorilla, he discovered a second injury. There was a deep and jagged laceration caused by a hidden wire snare. The baby gorilla was fighting both nature and the consequences of human encroachment. The fragile peace of the station was suddenly shattered. A deep territorial growl erupted from the dense foliage just beyond the clearing. It was a sound that shook the very foundations of the wooden building. The gorilla mother spun around, her fur bristling as she faced the jungle. Zuberi realized with a jolt of fear that a literal force of nature was now converging on the research station. A 180-kilogram silverback emerged from the emerald shadows of the forest. As the undisputed leader of the troop, his presence was terrifying. To the silverback, the research station was a cage, and the humans inside were potential kidnappers. He let out a thunderous roar that echoed through the valley, demanding the return of the baby gorilla. Zuberi was now trapped in a nightmare scenario. He was huddled over a dying infant, trying to keep its heart beating while one of the most powerful land mammals on Earth raged just a few yards away. Adding to the tension, an old male lion began to prowl the edge of the clearing, drawn by the scent of blood from the snare wound. The old male lion crouched in the tall grass, its golden eyes fixed on the chaos, waiting for an opportunity to strike. The silverback began to charge, tearing through the grass and kicking up clouds of earth. Just as the silverback reached the midpoint of the clearing, the gorilla mother did something that left Zuberi breathless. Instead of retreating or joining the silverback in his rage, she lunged forward and placed herself directly between the research station and the charging leader. She stood tall, her arms outstretched, creating a living shield for the humans behind her. She barked a series of sharp, commanding vocalizations of the silverback, asserting her dominance in this specific moment. It was an incredible display of maternal intelligence. She understood that if the silverback destroyed the house or harmed Zubri, the only chance for the baby gorilla to survive would vanish. Primate trust is known to evolve in stages, and this was the most rare stage, the active protection of a caretaker against their own kind. Inside the station, the situation reached a breaking point. The heart rate of the baby gorilla began to plummet as the neurotoxin took a firmer hold on its nervous system. Cade and his team were still minutes away, their vehicles struggling against the muddy mountain tracks. Zubri knew he could not wait any longer. He positioned his hands carefully over the small chest of the baby gorilla. He had to be incredibly precise, as the chest cavity of a baby gorilla is reinforced by structures much stronger than those of a human child. As the silverback continued to roar and the old male lion lurked closer, Zubri took a deep breath and began manual chest compressions. The sound of a high-revving engine finally cut through the chaos. A rugged off-road vehicle skidded into the clearing. Kate, the veterinarian, jumped out before the vehicle had even come to a full stop. He was momentarily paralyzed by the sight of the gorilla mother standing guard and the silverback pacing nearby, but he saw the urgency in the eyes of Zubri. Kate grabbed his medical kit and ran toward the door. The gorilla mother watched him intently, but as he slowed his pace and showed his hands, she stepped aside, allowing him entry into the sanctuary. Cade rushed to the bed of straw and quickly pulled a glass vial of anti-venom from his back. With steady hands, he administered the injection directly into the thigh of the baby gorilla. To assist the struggling lungs, Cade fitted a small pediatric oxygen mask over the face of the baby gorilla. The room fell into an agonizing silence, save for the rhythmic hissing of the oxygen tank. Suddenly, a small wheezing cough broke the quiet tension. The chest of the baby gorilla rose in a deep shivering breath. Its tiny leathery fingers began to twitch, and then it wrapped its hand tightly around the thumb of Zubri. A collective sigh of relief filled the room. The gorilla mother, hearing the sound of her infant, let out a soft hooting sound that was unmistakably filled with joy. Cade then performed a delicate surgery to clean the debris from the snare wound and applied stitches to ensure the health of the baby gorilla. The sun began to reach its zenith, signaling that it was time for the final farewell. The atmosphere around the research station had shifted from one of violent confrontation to a strange respectful peace. The old male lion, realizing its opportunity had passed, retreated into the shadows of the highlands. Zubri and Cade carefully lifted the now alert and clinging baby gorilla from the straw bed. They walked slowly toward the open wooden doors where the gorilla mother was waiting. The silverback had also retreated to the edge of the trees, watching the scene with a quiet, watchful dignity. As Zubri stepped into the sunlight, he knelt down and held the infant out. The gorilla mother moved forward with incredible grace. She reached out her massive arms and scooped the baby gorilla to her chest, nuzzling the top of its head with her nose. The infant let out a satisfied chirp and gripped her fur tightly before turning back toward the dense emerald canopy of the forest. The gorilla mother paused. She stood perfectly still for 5 long silent seconds. She looked directly into the eyes of Zubri and then into the eyes of Cade. In that look, there was the unmistakable expression of a mother conveying a debt of gratitude that words could never capture. It was a moment that reaffirmed a powerful truth. Humans often act music, as if they're the owners of the natural world, but our true purpose is to be its guardians. Nature does not seek to be our enemy. It simply wants the music chance to coexist and survive alongside us. The silverback let out one final low rumble that sounded like a peaceful salute as the gorilla mother and the baby gorilla began their trek back into the shadows. The troop followed them until they vanished completely into the thick vegetation. Zubri and Cade stood in the sun-drenched doorway, exhausted but filled with a sense of wonder. They had participated in a sacred exchange of trust that happens only once in a lifetime. What would you do if a wild animal turned to you for help? Let us know in the comments below. To see another incredible encounter with the beauty of the wild, click the video on your screen now.